welcome to the Whitmire Tech Entrepreneur Meetup. I see lots of familiar faces and new faces.
Yes.
So our meetup is just an opportunity to facilitate tech conversations in Lower Fairfield County. And so we're the Whitmire IP Group. We're a law firm. We don't talk about law here at these events. We try to stay away from that. But so we just try and bring in great speakers, like our speaker tonight, Virginia, and we're just really thankful for the community that we've been able to start and grow, and we're thankful to all of you for coming out. So I would like to introduce two people. First, I want to introduce Lauren Maturi. She also works at the Whitmire IP Group. And while usually after a presentation is over, I start the question and answer, Lauren's going to do that today because I just have a conflict later after the presentation. But I'd also like to now introduce our speaker. Our speaker is Virginia Juliano. She is the founder of CobbleCord, which is a disruptive media tech startup that helps people cobble together personalized streaming bundles using an innovative and patented process. Virginia has a proven ability to see around corners and create forward-thinking, impactful strategies to create innovation. Before founding CobbleCord, Virginia was the VP of multi-platform marketing with Showtime. But when she saw the rise of OTT devices and services and the opportunity that represented, Virginia created a product that helps consumers create personalized streaming bundles, the best collection of streaming services tailored to each streamer's programming, device, and price preferences. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Virginia Juliano.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everyone, for coming. So before we start, I wanted to get an idea of, in the room, how many people have already cut the cord? Okay. And how many are thinking about doing it? Okay, in the short term, okay? And then how about in the long term, like 6 months, a year from now? Okay, so a few are just entertaining it. Okay. All right, so that's good to know. So we're gonna get right into it. So this presentation is on cord cutting and the new dynamics of media. And I'm gonna start off with something that hopefully evokes some happy memories, some fond memories, the Happy Meal. You know, you go in, you get the burger, the fries, the soda, the apple pie, and the toy. It's usually about $10, but you get it for $5, so you're pretty happy, and you might even, you know, you didn't necessarily want the apple pie, but because it's such a good deal, you went for it. But how about if you went to get the Happy Meal, and they said, no, you have to have 27 burgers, 48 fries, 68 sodas, 97 apple pies, plus 150 cherry pies, and 200 toys, and possibly more. And that's, you know, that is coming to about $1,000 worth of value. But you know what? You're getting over 500 items, and we're going to give it to you for $245. What do you think of that? That's a good deal? It turns into an unhappy meal really quickly. And so, does this sound familiar? The cable bundle, the bundle that everyone hates. It's basically a Happy Meal gone awry. You know, stuffed with hundreds of channels you don't want, you don't watch, you have no choice. Later on top of that, long-term contracts and lots of hidden fees, and no wonder why cable operators are the most hated companies in America. The good news is that the appetite for streaming is growing, and so are the devices and the streaming services, and that's all great. However, it's gotten to a point where it's becoming increasingly complex, and people are really overwhelmed. So yeah, that's the result: consumers who are confused, overwhelmed, and dissatisfied. And this is, as Ben said, this is what prompted me to start CobbleCord when I was at Showtime. I saw this coming. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. The overview of tonight's presentation is basically, we're going to go over a few steps. I promised just a few. How did we get here? The building blocks of cord cutting. We're going to focus on content and models, what's coming on the horizon, and cobbling it all together. This presentation runs about 35 minutes. If there's any questions, sprinkling of questions, we could stop and explore, and then hopefully open it up for questions a little bit at the end as well. So, but first, just a little bit background on who I am. As Ben said, I was at Showtime Networks for 10 years. I led the go-to-market strategy and implementation of their streaming service, and that's when I had the light bulb moment, when I realized that we couldn't keep it all straight, and we were in the business, living and breathing it every single day. So I realized that consumers, particularly mainstream consumers, not necessarily early adopters, were going to need help. I worked a lot in subscription marketing, digital product development, as well as databases. I have an MBA in marketing and management from NYU. And in addition to launching and running CobbleCord, I do a lot of speaking and thought leadership on streaming and cord cutting, and I do talks at libraries, and starting to branch out into other businesses as well, like real estate agents and financial advisors. CobbleCord helps people get the most out of streaming and get rid of cable. And we have a patented process that does that. Right now it's a free website and app. Just to clarify, we are not a streaming service. We help people figure out which streaming services would work best for them, both free and paid. I've been trying to promote CobbleCord since the launch, and we have won some really impressive awards, including the CableFax Tech Award. We were just recognized by the Fairfield County Business Journal as one of the most visionary companies in Fairfield County. And for those of you who are local, we were one of the winners at the Haven Co-working Hatch event. So, a few stats, just to frame the conversation and provide a little context. So, the market size, this is what we're looking at. Roughly, and it depends on what numbers you look at, about 70% of households have cable, satellite, or telco, so the traditional television bundle. About 25, and by the way, that number was at 95. Back in 95%, about 2012, 2013. So we see where this is headed, right? So now we have about 25% of households that have high-speed data or internet, but no cable. So that is cord cutters and cord nevers. So people who are younger folks who have never had cable in their household. And then 5% have neither. They just have the antenna or nothing. The CEO of Roku, which is a streaming device, said last week they predict that by 2024, roughly half of U.S. households will have cut the cord or never had traditional pay TV. And you know what? I agree. Some more data points. Traditional television, they lost 14 million subs since their heyday in 2013. Expected to accelerate. All the numbers have not come in yet for 2019. And linear viewing, which is meaning viewing that is not on demand, that's on their schedule, not your schedule, that's been in steady decline as well, particularly in the 18 to 49-year-old demo. While streaming has exploded exponentially. People have streamers, the average number of streaming services per streaming household is 3.4. And they spend on average between $8 to $9 each. And people with 3+ services is the fastest growing segment. And, so that's about $24 a month. And people's average savings of cord cutters is between $50 to $100 a month. And that, I should add, includes the internet fees. So you still need internet, but they still are able to, save a sizable amount. However, 47% are saying that they're having difficulty navigating it all. However, and this is a bit of, an interesting contradiction here, they're having difficulty, but still there's an appetite for more. They're saying that they would be willing to pay for on average 1.6 more streaming services. So how did we get here? Greed is the easy answer, right? And everyone, thinks that the cable operators are greedy. And, it is true. There is a lot of, there was a lot of greed, and there is a lot of greed to go around. In fact, the bundles and the content windows, which is, when a movie comes on, movies, and then it goes on premium, and then it goes on, first pay-per-view, then premium, all those windows and the bundles have been created to extract as much value as possible and maximize revenue. But that's business, and the distributors, which are the cable operators, the networks, the studios, the sports leagues, they're all guilty of this. However, before I get into my take, I'm going to borrow a quote from Ernest Hemingway. The sun also rises. One of the characters asked the other character, so how did you go bankrupt? And the answer is two ways: gradually, then suddenly. And that's exactly how it's going in cable and media in general. It's basically, my take is basically, it's a lot of good old-fashioned denial, which is, as they say, not just a river in Egypt. They still can't believe what's happening. They can't believe the boom times are over. The times of recurring revenue, long-term contracts, high margins and big bundles, high barriers to entry, and little to no competition. Basically, a license to print money for many, many years. And, I witnessed this firsthand. And also, I still witness it. I still talk to a lot of the top people in the cable world, and they are still not accepting that now the consumers are in control. So that is still happening. So when the CEO of Roku says that by 2024, 50% of people will have cut the cord, I don't doubt it. So, any questions so far? Okay. So the talks that I give, yes?
How come it's not moving faster? Shifting faster?
That's a very layered question, and it's an excellent question. The short answer on that is that they are fighting for their lives, right? So they are trying to make it as difficult as possible for you to do that by bundling internet, video, phone, making it difficult for you to cancel, making it cost prohibitive, giving away video at this point. So they're kind of trying to stave off the inevitable. That's one easy answer. The other is, I think people are confused, and a lot of the people who haven't done it are confused and paralyzed to move forward. So when I do give this talk, which is a slightly different talk at libraries and other places, I get into the building blocks of cord cutting, which basically at the base is internet. You definitely need the access to the internet to cord cut. And that could be, if you just want to do it on mobile devices, it could be your wireless plan, or it could be, a broadband plan. We talk about what the different streaming devices are, what they do. We talk about all the content options, and we also talk about digital antennas to get local channels and DVRs. But today, for the sake of time, we're just going to focus on the content stuff. So let's get right into that. There are over 300 streaming services out there. I think most people are aware of maybe the top 3 to 5, but there's literally anything, and this quote is from Parks Associates, anything you could think of, there's going to be a streaming service with content for it. So, and including, anything you could think of from, well, we'll get into that in a moment. So, I wanted to give you just a very brief overview of the major business models in streaming, and it's a bit of alphabet soup. SVOD, skinny bundles, AVOD, fast, TVOD, hybrids, okay? Give examples of each, but I'll talk a little bit about all of them. SVOD is subscription video on demand. Netflix, Prime Video, it's when you spend, you pay for it on a monthly basis. Virtual MVPDs, which stands for multi-channel video programming distributor, are the likes of Sling TV, YouTube TV, AT&T TV Now. The names are not great. But anyway, that's actually sort of a scaled down version of the big cable bundle. And actually those are going up in price. They started off really reasonable and stripped down, and now they're getting bulkier again, and also getting more expensive. AVOD is ad-supported video on demand, okay? And those are the likes of Crackle, Popcorn Flicks. There's actually a lot of them, and many of them have really good content. You have to sit through advertising them, but they're free. And FAST is the new acronym out there that I've been hearing a lot about. It's called Free Ad-Supported Streaming TV. And that's the likes of Pluto TV, Tubi TV, and actually Redbox just launched their own, and there's more. But this is actually very similar to traditional television in that there's a live stream going, and you can kind of come in and out, and it's kind of mimicking the channel surfing behavior. Has anyone, let me ask you, who has not heard of Pluto TV? Okay, a lot of them. See, there's definitely a discovery problem with these streaming services. This is a major issue. However, Pluto TV does have about 24 million subscribers, so they're doing something right, but as I said, the next level, the widespread exposure, they still can have they need some help. TVOD is the transaction video on demand, where you can rent or own, sort of like akin to pay-per-view, and Fandango Now is one of them. Amazon Prime has a really robust offering, and there are others. And then hybrids, who actually, marry some of these models together. They could be a freemium model where you get some content free, then you have to, subscribe to get more. And Cheddar TV Peacock, which is going to be NBC's service, which is launching in, I believe, early June, is going to have multiple levels like that, and CBS All Access has that as well. What's really important to note here, though, is that most of these have free trials if they're subscriptions. There are annual discounts, if you want to pay for the whole year. But most importantly, you can cancel at any time. And that's what I think the general public still has not really gotten their mind around, particularly people. I see there's a big dichotomy of behavior, I would say under 40 and over 40 years old, where people who are under 40, like this is part of their vernacular, they know it, they're used to it. People who are over 40 have been, beaten down for so many years by the cable bundle that they can't necessarily really understand that they have this freedom now. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. Question?
Yeah, Virginia, if you will not mind going back to that last slide, because I tried to find some piece. Apple TV Plus will go into which box?
Apple TV Plus is an SVOD. So you pay a monthly fee, and however, and now I'm glad you brought that up, Ernst, because what we're seeing now is that, you know, we have, it's kind of like those nesting dolls where one is in the other. Like Apple TV has a device, they also have an app, they also have a service, and they're also trying to be an aggregator now too, where you can order Showtime and HBO and others through your Apple TV app. So these things are they're moving around, they're very confusing. So that is actually like a whole other, you know, discussion in itself. Another question.
I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but if you are later, cut me off.
Mm-hmm.
But how would you layer device on top of this? 'Cause it's another kind of important layer, because you know how people are you know, because you can consume any of these on a subset of the total available devices. So how does that kind
Absolutely.
of figure in?
Let me go backwards to here, because you're right, and that's one of the building blocks of cord cutting, right? So you need to have the internet, streaming devices and content work in concert, right? You need both, and sometimes the streaming device could just be a connected television, or it could be your computer, your laptop, it could be a phone, it could be anything, you know, there's a lot of choices. So you definitely need both, and that's a, I don't get into it too deeply, that's more for the sort of the general public talk that I do, but this is a little bit more, you know, trying to frame the whole media ecosystem. But we could talk offline about that. All right, so some of the streaming service types, which we touched on, another way to look at it. So we talked about the models, and this is kind of like the skinny bundles, which, you know, the virtual MVPDs, the old guard, so the likes of Sling TV, which is owned by Dish, just Dish Networks, the satellite company, AT&T TV Now, which is a horrible name, but that's owned by AT&T, who bought DirecTV, and they just recently bought, not so recently, but they bought Time Warner, and including HBO and the likes in Turner, and Hulu with Live TV, which is now owned by Disney, and Philo, which has no sports. It's $20 a month, no sports. That's owned by Viacom. So that's kind of the old guard are dabbling in this skinny bundle world. Some of them are skinnier than others. The new guard are the likes of YouTube TV, owned by Google, Fubo TV, which started off more as like a Spanish language, more soccer focused, and now they've expanded into general, you know, general entertainment. VidGo, which is kind of along the same lines, and PlayStation Vue, which sadly shut down last month because this is a very tough business and the margins are paper thin. And, you know, a lot of these guys either can absorb the loss, like Google, for instance, right? Or like if you're Sling TV or AT&T, you're getting the benefits of some of those contracts that you had with the programmers. So they had a little bit of a benefit of that. So PlayStation Vue had a very loyal following, but they couldn't make the economics work, and Sony, who owned them, just said, you know, this is not the business that we want to be in, and we want to redirect our resources. So a lot of those people, FYI, went over to YouTube TV. They did an excellent job of marketing and courting those customers. So that's what's going on. There's going to be a lot of share shifting going on, ongoing. The new aggregators are kind of the likes of Netflix, Amazon Prime, Pluto TV, which I mentioned. They have, by the way, 240 free channels. Amazon Prime channels, which, once again, this is where the nesting dolls comes in. There's Amazon Prime, a service, and then you could add on to it other channels. So that, I think they have about 200 channels that you could add onto the Prime membership. TV app, and now Roku is actually trying to become an aggregator as well. So you can get a Roku premium subscription where there's, I think it's HBO, Showtime, and Starz for like, I want to say $16 a month. So this is a very dynamic space. They're all jockeying for a piece of this pie. And then on top of the aggregators and the skinny bundles, we have the individual networks. So you can, subscribe to premium channels like HBO Now. HBO Max is coming out, which is going to be HBO on steroids. Showtime, Starz, the broadcast channels, as I mentioned, CBS and Peacock. And then others like Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, and then see, I have Netflix here too, because this is where it kind of gets a little fuzzy. They're an aggregator, but they're also kind of their own thing. Question over here.
Yeah, a lot of the IT software type of companies these days and winner take most. So do you think that there's going to be a lot of aggregation between a lot of these companies, a lot of business that we buying and selling, and Disney Plus, Amazon, Netflix?
So for those who couldn't hear the question was basically, are we going to have a scenario where it's going to be like a winner take most, right? And that there's going to be aggregation and consolidation. I believe there will be a lot of that, yes. Just like you saw how PlayStation View couldn't do it on their financials, there's going to be more of that. And we talk a little bit in, I think, the next slide about the new age of bundles, okay? But I think that who's going to really be squeezed the most are the guys in the middle, right? So the big mega plays and then niche players who have smart financials, they're going to do okay. It's this middle of the road that's going to struggle, I think. Yes?
A follow-up question. So among the big players, who do you think is best positioned to do that?
Among the big players, who do I think is best positioned to do that? Well, I think right now it's those who have the deepest pockets and can play the long game, number one. So that's the likes of Amazon, the likes of Google, Apple. I think YouTube TV and Google has shown that they have the stomach for it and they have the balance sheet for it. I don't know, Apple's dabbled, talked about doing it, and I don't know how deep in they are, but they're making a serious commitment to it. So there's those guys, and then, like I said, the smaller guys who are sticking to their knitting, who really understand their customer, and they don't overextend on content creation. Netflix is, by the way, has a huge head start and a very loyal client base, customer base. So they're definitely well positioned, but their financials are, there's questions about their debt. So are they going to be able to really dig in for the long haul? That's the question mark. The other thing I will add is that I don't think we've seen the streaming wars really in earnest yet. There's going to be so much share shifting when people really start understanding that they can turn things on and off so easily. And so the marketing arms of these companies and the CRM is going to become incredibly important to this. And the legacy media companies who have always been sort of a distributed business, that's not in their DNA. And they're trying to get inroads and figure that out and hire smart, but the digital natives have such a head start on that. So that's another reason why, I named the ones that I did. Yes?
I'd be interested in learning your perspective on this, Virginia, please. We see Netflix having come out with a whole bunch of self-produced studio work series. beat up on companies, but if I think of Optimum or a former Cablevision, the best content they had was 2-3 of the sports teams, right? If they have good seasons and so on. So I see one issue really, how do you potentially integrate or collaborate with studio and how do you get your context? So what kind of developments do you see in the market? My undertone is this, the Verizons and so on are struggling mightily with that, is that correct?
I think Verizon's playing a different game. They have a different end game. They've actually made a strategic decision to step out of content creation and aggregation. They're really putting all their chips on 5G and wireless, which I think is a good move for them because they are a technology company, and like I think AT&T is struggling with now owning HBO and and not being a content company at its core. I'm struggling in answering your question because I don't know if we have enough time to get into it, but the studio part is an interesting thing, and I think you're right. So like AT&T, for instance, they have the Warner Brothers, right? And Disney acquired Fox. They're not calling it that; they're calling it 20th Century now. And Netflix is once again collapsing, a studio within their walls. So it's interesting how they're all playing this game slightly differently. I don't have the answer. I think that if Netflix could afford to, having it within your own walls is great, and controlling your IP and your, but I don't know if Wall Street will give them the runway for that.
But the average CobbleCord user, doesn't really care where the content is from. They
That's
just
true.
want good fun programming.
The
right?
average person has no idea, and this is more of a B2B sort of room. So I want to touch on it, but yeah, that's a very complicated issue.
Where's Barry Diller? I always watch him critically these plays.
I'm not sure actually off the top of my head.
He's gotta be in here somewhere.
So some of the niche players that you may, like I said, there are over 300 services and there's more every day. Some of them you may not be aware of that are really interesting, and this gives a good smattering of them. My Outdoor TV, which is about like hunting and fishing and stuff like that. I'm going to say this wrong, but I think it's Pongalo, which is like telenovelas. It's more Spanish language content. Revry, which is geared towards the LGBTQ community. Yoga Anytime, which is self-explanatory. Friendly, which is family friendly. It's I think $6 a month, and they have a pretty good array of content. And PureFlix, which is more faith-based content. So this is just like a smattering of all the possibilities out there. So in CobbleCord, in addition to the personalized bundles that we generate for people based on their inputs, we also have a pretty robust search capability where you could filter on different things like genre, network, category, whether or not it's ad supported or subscription, and to a certain degree shows. Even we do like the major shows, but there are other sites that do that, that focus on that. So we just kind of touch on that. The great thing though that I don't want to lose sight of is that consumers can create their own combinations. They can have one skinny bundle, one or two aggregators, a couple of individual networks, maybe 3 months of the year. They switch from one to another. They have some niche players that come in and out. So this is now in the consumer's hands. Some people are overwhelmed by this, and that's fine, and I can appreciate that. Not everyone should be a cord cutter, and that's why cable is expensive, right? Because you have all of these options, they serve it up to you, you turn it on, it's there, but not everybody wants that. changes, particularly for the skinny bundles, but even like Disney Plus came out at a very, very competitive price. That's not going to be the price forever. It can't be. So they're trying to, get your business, get you hooked, and that's fine. That's how it works. But remember, no contracts works both ways, right? So you can cancel at any time. They could raise the rate at any time. So that's something that we just need to be aware of, and that's the beauty of choice. Rebundling and cross-vertical bundles. So what this means is now we're starting to see these big media companies are creating their own bundles. Like, for instance, AT&T, which owns HBO and Turner, they're starting to create their own bundle. Disney owns Hulu, ESPN, and I'm drawing a blank on the other one, and Disney, of course. And they have a nice little bundle going on there. There's also, we're seeing, the cross-vertical bundle. So like with Amazon, with Prime Video being part of, the free shipping bundle. So, and then like Spotify, for instance, they're a music service, and they're buying a lot of podcast companies. So there's going to be some cross-vertical bundles there too. Platform wars is the other thing that I wanted to touch on. So we have streaming wars. We're in the middle of it. Platform wars is, these sort of ecosystems where they're trying to keep you within that ecosystem. So Amazon has its own ecosystem. They have Amazon Music, they have Amazon Prime, they have, everything else. They have Audible, book subscriptions. Roku's doing theirs, Apple's doing theirs. So now we're going to go up a level from the streaming wars to the platform wars. The other thing that's on the horizon, and this is really, I believe, what's keeping this is to answer your question, to add to the answer to your question, sports is a big juggernaut in keeping that bundle alive. And I know that the NFL Sunday Ticket, which DirecTV owns now, that's up for renewal, and they're probably not going to renew it. So who gets that? It's probably going to be Amazon. I put my money on them. That's going to be a huge thing. Also, they're rumored to be starting their own live streaming, live TV service. So if you add the NFL Sunday Ticket with that, they have a very compelling offer. And then the NFL broadcast network agreements are up for renewal in 2022, yes. And that's, when you see, Monday Night Football on, I think that's NBC, that's going to be up for grabs. So imagine if YouTube TV gets that, that could be very compelling. And then finally, the connectivity wars, which is another thing that's keeping that bundle alive, is that you really still need internet. And there's a lot of mixed commentary on how effective 5G is going to be, but 5G and allowing wireless internet to your home. So the vision is that your television set can stream using your data plan from your phone. That could be the killer app. That could be a killer app. I have two questions. There's a lot of, this is a hot question. Okay, yeah, hot topic.
So I've been waiting for like a year or more to get eyes on home. Do you have any idea what the timing is?
So the question is the timing on that. So, it depends on where you live, okay? Huh? Monroe, okay. Probably I would say 3 years out, maybe more. Because they're really, they're gonna do the major metro areas first, the timing is the question. So it's gonna be rolling. It's rolling. And then, yes, another question related to this.
Yeah, I mean, so we're talking about on the horizon. So, a number of media companies like WWE here in Stanford made major bets on streaming that didn't pan out. Are you seeing any other media producers starting to get gun shy about starting to produce their own apps, their own streaming services, versus then going to a bundler to distribute their content?
I think that they've always, well, the ones who were legacy media companies like HBO and Showtime, they were, that was 95% of their revenue was the traditional business, right? So they were not so eager to give that up. So they've kind of played down the middle, and they're doing both. They're doing their own apps, but then they're also distributing it to Amazon channels and the likes of Hulu, whomever they can license it to. So I think that some of them are trying to play both sides of the fence. But yes, it takes a lot of. There's all different business models, right? And it depends on what how they're producing content or sourcing content. If they're producing their own content, it's high quality, that's expensive, right? So they're going to have a different model than someone who, like for instance, Chicken Soup for the Soul, which is based in Greenwich, for instance, like they have a licensing model. They license a lot of content. So they have a whole different, structure. They don't have to make the same choices.
I was there when WWE announced it South by Southwest, and they were saying, 20 million subscribers in 5 years, and I think the higher number was 1.4. I think companies are getting really gun shy about going in this alone versus going to a bundler, and then I wonder how long is it till we're just in the same situation with
Yes.
cable companies.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like recreating the monster, which I'm not saying won't happen, but I think what's important is the genie is out of the bottle, at least for consumers, and having a degree of control. Okay, so I think that when the streaming wars start really happening and people are share shifting month to month, it's not just going to be about the content. It's going to be about the terms. It's going to be about the interface. It's going to be about the UX and all of that. So there's a lot of elements. I think, just go back to the WWE part of the question, I think they actually had more subscribers than that. And they were, it goes to the deep pockets of the long game. Okay, so if you're going to produce expensive content, do you have the appetite to really, play that long game and the deeper pockets? So somebody like Google or Amazon, who's subsidizing it with other businesses, and Apple too, their device business, they can play that longer game. So it's going to be a new set of bigger aggregators. Yeah.
I know you're trying to get through that, but the question that's formed in my head, do you think we'll ever be at the level of being able to buy a program? Right? Because just like we talk about with the cable companies having 1,000 channels of which we watch 6, I pay NBC or I'll pay CBS for all access, and I only want to watch 3 programs.
Well, you could do that if you wanted to buy episodes on either iTunes or on Amazon. You have that option. Exactly. I could go back to the greed slide and how they're trying to maximize their IP and their property, their content. So you can do it. It's not that expensive. If those are the only, it depends on the volume. Like if you're only interested in 3 shows, then it might pay, But if you're interested in 20 shows and you want access to them, then a subscription makes more sense, or perhaps a cable subscription. So, but that's a really good. Before I move on, Verizon actually announced a few weeks ago that they're not going to force people into bundles anymore. Meaning, for Fios, for instance, internet, video, and phone. So that's really interesting, and I think that changes the dynamic, and the competition is paying attention. They may have to follow suit. We'll see. But I thought that was a big announcement. So cobbling it together, most people are quite happy to spend a little less per month and get a whole bunch less of what they never wanted in the first place. So it's really about, cord cutting at core is about customer choice, user empowerment, personalization, and a degree of transparency, of seeing what you're getting and what you're paying for, and you have the control over it. But it's important to remember that every streamer is unique, like a snowflake, and it depends on a lot of things, including the household composition, how many people are in the household, what ages they are, what the income level, the hours of TV that you watch on a weekly basis, the content categories that you watch. So if you're very sports focused, it's tougher to cut the cord. And actually the appetite to keep cobbling, because some people don't want to keep on top of it. So it's really not a one-size-fits-all discussion. I just want to briefly get into a little bit what we're doing with CobbleCord. We touched on it. We have the search and the filtering. We're a convenient central repository of information on hundreds of streaming services. And what we are planning to do next is to build out more of a subscription management hub, where you have one place where you can go to sort of figure out how much you're spending on a monthly basis, filter and search by category, by price, and set reminders if you want to unsubscribe or subscribe to something, deep links into that process, and then possibly facilitate other media such as music, books, podcasts, and we're really trying to be agnostic and a cross-platform play and make it easy and fun for the consumer. Looking for help with, I know this is not a pitch, but just putting it out there, we're looking for potential investors to help with phase 2, the product development side. And any potential partners in terms of strategic or licensing or board members. I'm open to introductions, and please spread the word. I do speaking events, any media connections that you could facilitate, and then please tell your friends and family because CobbleCord is free, so you can utilize it and go through the process as many times as you want. So, thank you, and any questions? Any additional questions? Yes?
CobbleCord is free. What's the revenue model for the company?
So, right now we have 3 revenue streams. We have advertising on the site. We have a referral model with some of the streaming services. So, if you order something, we sometimes get a referral fee, but that does not affect our algorithms. And also, we're working on a B2B model to license our tech to other companies.
I guess you kind of touched on it. If you want pro sports, you're pretty much going to be staying here.
Not necessarily. I would say it depends on how many sports, right? So if you're a big, you have to have hockey, basketball, football, baseball, you need them all, right? That's going to start adding up when you start cobbling together all the different services that you need to make that happen. If you're, very just a big, baseball fan, you can get MLB's service, and then you can cobble together some others. So it depends on the sports. Tennis you can get, yeah, there's options, yes.
I watched it.
Yes, question.
A real question, what happens when you go to cut optimum, just keep internet? You're okay.
I'm not going to lie, that's a challenge. They will say, well, you know what? We'll actually give you video for free, right? or if for $5 more a month, you have video too. You have to make that decision on if it's worth it for you. And by the way, that rate will go up, right? So you have to be on top of it.
Yeah. With them for that reason.
Okay, yeah, you have to really keep on top of them because it will go up. So they'll try to keep you, it will go up. I would say also find out what the going rate is on the other in the market. There's usually two, right? And then you could say that, you know, this is for a new subscription to, you know, Frontier, for instance. You know, it's X per month. Will you give me something in that, you know, in that wheel? And it depends on what time of the month it is. Actually, if they need to make a number, their quota by the end of the month, they might be more amenable to it. So don't give up. Keep trying. We have time for more questions?
Oh, yeah, we can.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna make a comment. If you're in a niche space, the barriers to entry are extraordinarily low to get in front of a lot of people. It's because we've been able to do it, and we have no resources whatsoever, but we've been able to get on a number of these services that you talked about. So if you are a content developer, this is really an area to look at because it's extreme that all of these providers are hungry for content. If you can provide content that meets a pretty low bar, you can get onto these services and distribute the content.
Another question, yes.
I think this is going to have any impact on the back catalog pricing of the content at all?
An impact on the back catalog pricing of the content. So the short answer, yes, right? So we've seen it already with the likes of Warner Brothers pulling back Friends from Netflix, right? So it's kind of, we're seeing it in several ways. We see the content owners bringing it back into their own tents, right? But then you're also seeing, you know, there could be some bidding wars, right? In terms of valuable back catalog for the stuff that's on the open market. So there's that. And then it depends on, you know, if they're looking for niche content that's not necessarily high quality production value, that's a whole other set of criteria. More from you, yes.
So a question from another startup founder. I'm wondering for this platform, what have you decided would be your proof of concept? Is it subscribers? Is it revenues? And whichever it is, how's that going?
Well, I launched the proof of concept. So that is the recommendation engine. That is free. So that's the proof of concept, and it's out. So what is still being sort of fine-tuned exactly is what the end game model is going to be. And yes, it may be a freemium model where that remains free, and then there's the extra bells and whistles are for a fee. So it's a moving target. This industry is very hard to keep up with, and I live and breathe it every day. But every day there's new stuff coming out, new information.
So you mentioned a friend. So I remember reading some time back that on these main streaming networks, it's only like 5 or 6 shows that people are watching all the time, Friends being one of them. Do you have any thoughts on the fact that most people aren't actually watching these thousands of movies that Amazon, Netflix are just churning out TV shows?
So it's
And then also,
yeah.
as some of them get pulled, as the production companies that own the IP for these shows get wise to the fact that people are watching their show and they're pulled them from Friends, you know, how does that change the model?
That I can't answer that easily because it has so many different levels, right? So there's a couple of ways to look at it, right? Some people want the volume that's on Netflix no matter what. If Friends is missing, I say Friends is like pizza and The Office is like pizza. If it's there, you'll grab a slice. If it's not there, you'll move on to something else. You know what I mean? So it's like, it depends on how. I think that the days of that sort of appointment television, like Game of Thrones, because that straddled the old and the new, I don't think that's going to happen again.
We have to start leaving.
So in other words, you have to have, you must have that, and it's on a huge scale. A lot of people needed to see that, because it had such a built-in audience for so many years, that people, I think that it's so splintered. There's so much content out there, and it's we're in a very like long tail environment where, friends to you is not as important to somebody else. There's a lot of options out there. Okay.
And I'm interested in your perspective, please, because I thought one of the winning tickets would be interactivity. Who else is watching? Let's share XYZ event together. What did you think of her, his dress at the Oscars and whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Is your experience that this is side by side and people just tweet along while they watch? Or have you seen approaches where this now becomes more integrated?
I think you're seeing both, and it depends on your the target that you're talking about, the audience target. So you're seeing stuff like with Twitch, where it's more the younger groups that's more of an interactive, but around certain content, right? Certain gaming content that lends itself to that. But I think Twitter, for instance, has filled that void pretty well, and people are kind of very comfortable with having their phone in their hand while they're watching television and tweeting. And, I agree. I thought interactivity was going to be more key, and I think that there are some, like VidGo, for instance, which is one of the newer skinny bundles. They're experimenting with social television and more interactivity. Remains to be seen on how big of an impact that makes.
So in line with your point about how they, Windows, I guess, and, traditionally trying to maximize at every stage. I was just in the library the other day, right? And I was surprised to see the, the new Star Trek, one of the new Star Trek things on CBS streaming, like Discovery or something like that. Is, like, they have it on
CBS,
DVD. Yeah,
access,
right, yeah. It's on DVD. So, like, is that sort of like a habit that they have to say, like, I'm trying to maximize, and it seems to me like that's going to undercut the reason why you would want to go, like, why sign up for CBS All Access? Why not just look at this
Okay,
one
so
show?
the question is, just for those who didn't hear, regarding windowing, and is that undermining the whole idea? No, I think that it's been around. It's going to continue to be around. There's different factors, so timing, right? So the DVD, it comes out probably a season after, or a couple of months after it's live on the streaming service. So there's models and models and models that are done to kind of maximize the revenue value of that. So all of that is staggered, so that if you're really, really into it, you're going to subscribe to the service to see it when it comes right out of the gate. If you're not, then you can wait a few months till it comes on DVD. So it's the nature of the waiting game. It's the nature of like how important it is for you. And they've, believe me, they have done the homework on the audience segment and how passionate they are about it, and what percentage will do this window and that window, and that is done, ad nauseum. So, this is what they do well. That's what they do well. Direct-to-consumer marketing and stuff like that from the media, legacy media companies. That's not what they necessarily have done well in the past, but they're trying to catch up.
What are your thoughts on just as far as something that media companies sometimes don't do well, as far as like the actual product? Because obviously Netflix is fantastic just from a product, like software point of view, the UX and stuff. The fact that it just actually streams, it's not staggering. Whereas like other apps, you start using them and like you pause it for like 2 seconds because your phone rang.
I think that a good example is the interfaces on some of the like on demand and from the cable operators. That is an example of where it becomes clunky, cumbersome, and and somebody like Netflix has really sort of, perfected that. However, I think that the next wave of development and the next wave of who's going to win this streaming war, they have to give consumers a little bit more control and visibility into the content options. Now, I mean, that's a whole other presentation where it's been, very much like a lean back experience that has been sort of put out there where you recommended, these endless rows of different micro genres. I don't know that that's what people want anymore. Maybe that was a good bridge to get people from the old to the new, but I think if you're going to have these enormous libraries, you need to give people the tools to navigate it. So, a little bit more transparency into the libraries.
I just want to keep us to the schedule a little bit, so join me again in last closing comment is, so we usually do these on the third Tuesday of every month. The third Tuesday of March is actually St. Patrick's Day, so we're going to move to the fourth Tuesday. I don't know if that's going to throw anyone's schedules, but you'll get an invite from another good speaker. And also, if you wouldn't mind, if you leave your name tags in the basket by the door, then we'll use them again when you come back. So thank you very much for coming again, and